Welcome to another episode of Clearing the Backlog World and Economica, Episode 1, Part 5. This time, this is a 5 hours, 5? 2 hour stream special. So, I've been busy for the past couple of weeks, and this time, let's play more. So, last time. Welcome to my channel. This is Coffee, by the way. I could keep forgetting to introduce myself. So, last time, Haru saved. I forgot the character's name already. Haru saved female MCs as from that loan shark. Anyway, let's continue with the story. The words of appreciation came my way. Obviously, I wasn't expecting any to begin with, but I ended up feeling any anger similar to disappointment. In the village where I grew up, if you did something for someone, they'd thank you for it. If someone did something for you, you'd return the favor, of course. The culture over there, which I had considered simple, crude, and outdated, had somehow rooted itself strongly in me. I scratched my head while trying to contemplate all the differences between Hagana and me. I had gotten into a bad mood again, wasting the wonderful resuscitation I had enjoyed from the Schrödinger street. Maybe I should go stroll to Red Valley sometime. On top of that, if I associated with Hagana anymore, there'd be a possibility I might end up laying hands on her. What? Well, Hagana. Of course, I did it in a sexual sense, but in the physical violence sense. Jeez, calm your mind, Haru. I was about to leave the living room, walk into the hallway leading to the inner rooms, and thus I heard a voice call to me. I totally thought it was a hallucination. There aren't enough flowers. When I turned around, I saw Hagana putting a vase on the table and arranging the flowers. Oh, this is a real... How do you... I don't know how to remove the UI. This is a really nice flower. It looks like an orchid. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if that's an orchid actually. Stark contrast between the the white lily like. So what was it? Is it a lily? Flowers pitch black Hagana's juxtaposition was remarkable. However, next to it were some poor flowers flattened by someone stepping on them. I guess what she meant. Oh, sad flowers. They got messed up in the fight. So what? Get some for me. Wow, okay. Instead of thanking Haru, she bosses him around. I was pretty much silent as I walked reflexively toward Hagana. The following words hadn't popped out of her mouth, I would have probably walked right up to her and turned it a graceful face and tomato paste. Let's not resort to violence, please. My feet stopped instantly and ended up staring steadily at Hagana. She returned my stare in the same manner and said, I asked you to help. Whoa, calm down. Calm down there. So I should go do it soon as possible, huh? Couldn't figure out what to say or how to say it. I had confidence in my thought processes, but when interacting with this woman, I got a strong message that my head wasn't quite screwed on right. I had given my word, and Hagana had at least in appearance asked me to do something. Having gotten nothing, not even a thanks in return, I replied bitterly. What kind of flower is it? That's the correct question to give. Now we'll know what flower is it. Staring at me with emotionless eyes as if I was saying that it's obvious what flowers she was looking for, Hagana pointed her slender finger at the vase. I don't know where those grow. Okay, she doesn't even know what those are. Me neither. What a productive conversation. Thinking what, I furrowed my eyebrows and was about to jab Hagana in the chin, but Hagana's expression remained unchanged. But but aren't you as nimble as a monkey? It should be more logical for you to search than me. Oh my god. The exchanges between these two people. Come on. Why did I have to follow her orders and even have to allow myself to be called a monkey? I wanted to yell at her, but Agana paid no attention to me, spun her hand around and looked at the vase again. Lisa grew these flowers. It would be a problem if there were less than 7. Why exactly less exact numbers? That moment my anger evaporated instantly. Her profile looked so pitiful. However, I quickly corrected my thinking and told myself it's just a show mimicking people with the XX chromosome. The female, is it? Female chromosome? She's sad. She's clearly sad. That beauty mark on her eyes really looks nice. As long as you were born a pretty woman, no matter how rotten you were inside, you'd look like a beauty standing next to some flowers. Same thoughts, same thoughts. Well, as long as it was a real problem, I could just go and get some. Even though my reputations were unrelenting, I ended up running off dejectedly to find some flowers. Of course, searching around blindly would be something an idiotic earth dog would do. I took my computer out of my backpack, booted it up, and took a picture of the flower in its camera. Okay, reverse Google image search, was it? I used an image search and then... Nice. Furthermore, since doing something bizarre like growing stuff like flowers on the moon could only be due to curiosity, I entered the flower's name and the name of the area around here. Having done that, I found a picture uploaded by some bored and or curious person of the flower nearby, and hooray, I located the whereabouts of this flower. Oddly, this post that came up had also something to do with the church. Okay, so it's the flower related to the church. Okay. Oh look, isn't this just a cliff above us? The flower aficionado who lived nearby had written a post proudly proclaiming that he had taught Lisa how to grow flowers. This was surely the garden on the cliff that I had seen when I left this place earlier today, and I certainly had the feeling I saw a peak of blooming flowers too. I turned towards Sagana, who was busy with the cleanup and had occasionally snuck glances at me and rotated the display towards her. I guess they're blooming on the cliff above us. I see. I need 2 flowers. Don't mess. Wow. So bossy, Agana. If only you don't. Yeah, whatever. Let's not give bad comments. It didn't seem like she had even an ounce of inclination to retrieve the flowers herself. Clearly, I'm with you, Haru. Having lost the will to get angry, I closed the computer and got up from the floor. I hopped to the 2nd floor and then towards the 3rd floor. I stuck something the annoying auto-locking door to keep it open and went outside. Oh, wait. Okay. From the lights on the door, I could tell it was almost time for evening mode to kick in. The earth appeared in its usual location and showed me its faint blue figure. I scanned the garden. So much black scenes, dark scenes, which had a great view and quite a nice place to hang out. After looking around, I found the lilies growing in a flowery bed just like in the photo. The approaches 5 flowers fluttered in the light breeze. Since they were so fresh, young, and full of life, I was wondering if I should really uproot them. Though I could not see any traces of 7 flowers having been uprooted before, there was no mistake the flowers Lisa had originally picked from here. I pulled up 2, shook the turn of them, and carried them back down. When I got back, the living room had returned to normal, and Hagana was sitting at the table. She looked at the 2 lilies in my hands and frowned. So it's lilies. What? You said 2, didn't you? The roots are still attached. Well, obviously. I took a deep breath and responded slowly. Well, you didn't say that you didn't want the roots. Okay, this is also an issue with guys, but they don't immediately know or like do something beyond. As a guy myself, yeah, I do this also. I know that this is it's a relationship between women and guy. Whatever, I forgot. Ano. But yeah, like we lack the initiative to do more than what we have asked. I thought she just ignored that, but she stared at me for a bit and nodded in agreement. Disappointed, I handed the two lilies to Hagana. Hagana then grabbed a pair of scissors from the cupboard and started cutting out the flowers in the sink. Of course, how would I remove the roots when I don't have a pair of scissors? Oh well, whatever. Her movements gave the impression that she was quite experienced at this. Fortunately, it was in appearance only. She was cutting them straight across the stem. You don't know how? Oh, okay. I asked her quickly. How to what? Here, let me see. Why? She furrowed her brows in surprise, but as I approached her and stretched out my hand, she handed me the scissors and the flowers. For this situation, you should cut it diagonal to the stem. It basically lets the stem absorb water a lot more easily. Oh, okay. Haru also know how to cut. What Haru doesn't know? He knows a lot. Apply to everything was basic rule of thumb. Okay, that's basic rule of thumb. Now I know also. Didn't know that. I cut the two stems at an angle and Hagana, who had been staring at my hands, looked at me. Is that true? Yeah. If we learn something in a visual novel, that's probably true. Probably. I said that with a shrug. Hagana showed a bit of rare emotion in response to my vague response. A slight wrinkle appeared on her forehead and lowered her chin. Well, it appeared that Hagana wasn't good with this type of things. Perhaps as a reaction to being stepped on all the time, I started flaunting my knowledge. So I take it you don't know that you're not supposed to store vegetables lying on their side. What? Vegetables. Their freshness will depend on whether you lay them on their side or stand them up. Hagana slightly started felt as if she were saying that's impossible when she stared at me. She then brought her lips back together quickly. Oh hey, it looked like she was kind of hungry. My heart sank for joy. Looked like she thought that I was making fun of her. That's a lie, right? Why don't you test it out? I immediately returned without retort. My dad once said that just as humans would weaken if we put in different environment, vegetables will also weaken if placed in different orientation from when they were growing, and therefore there's a difference in how well they kept. Okay, I should probably look at that just because we've learned it in a visual novel, it's true. Well, I look at her, she's glaring at me, but eventually she turned around and looked at the flowers while speaking in almost a quiet whisper. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind too. I thought extremely odd good behavior, but then her second line came out. Sin, I'll verify it someday. I was thinking cute couldn't really describe this woman. I did feel that this was the first time we were able to have a real conversation. Hagan retrieved the flowers from me without a word, and still without a word, placed them in a vase. Why did they have to repeat the still without a word? That behavior made me sense a bit of humanity from her and wonder if I didn't really have too much such a prejudiced view. If anything, if the flower lover Lisa had raised these flowers, she'd be distraught if she came back to find some flowers missing. Hannah's consideration for Lisa in wanting to replenish the number of flowers, well, I'd have to say that it was girly. I thought that it would be really nice if some of that humanity could be directed towards me, but of course, I couldn't say that aloud. Actually, I felt, oh my god, felt defeated at a point when I thought of that and chased two thoughts out of my head. Great, that was funny. I ended up hauling myself the room I was renting and spent the time searching for money spinners. Money spinners. I felt kind of depressed, but rather than wasting time and money roaming Red Valley aimlessly, I figured I might as well actually spend some time doing related to making some bucks. Even the ever-changing world economy news headlines were full of things that could determine movements of the markets tomorrow. If my rivals throughout the world were going to read these articles to plan for tomorrow's trades, then ignoring the news would give me a handicap for the battle ahead. To win the battle, I must do everything possible. So clearly, Haru is doing day trading. Recently, I've been looking that up. Driven by something like obsession, I poured through the news stories, but there were limits to my concentration and patience. I could concentrate on actual trading for hours on end, but I'd gradually lose focus while doing this sort of manual labor that was akin to warm-up exercises. However, I managed to look through everything. By that time, I started feeling a dull pain in the back of my eyes, and the light outside the window indicated it was evening already. Looks bright to me. Anyways, this is Haru's room. Doesn't really contain anything at the moment. That's not even a shelf for clothes. Or maybe that study table could work. Or maybe another direction there's a shelf. Amongst the investors of the world, anecdotes abounded about people who started investing when they were 5 years old, had never missed a day reading the top 10 economy newspaper for decades. Suddenly, I asked myself whether I'd been spending my days in such a way I'd be able to fight with them on my even footing. Right now, results had accompanied my trading. My seed money has grown. Recently, however, slump days of neither gains nor losses like yesterday had risen. If I broke even during actual trading, then I'd incur losses from the trading fees. Furthermore, my necessary living expenses added to those losses. It would be a lie to say that I wasn't uneasy. I was well aware that if there were days where I incurred losses or did not perform that well, then I'd be inclined to needlessly feel depressed about it. Especially on the evening of that day when markets are closed on the end of the week. For those kids who actually went to school, they'd have club activities or play around for the day. The advent of a next week, just like the previous, brought a sense of stability. However, I had no such luxury since each new week would be an unpredictable week full of surprises. Back when I was in the village, I had dreamed of simulating days like this every day, but the days when I held the opposite opinion had started to increase lucidly. This line of thought wasn't good, I felt. Feeling depressed brought nothing. Going back to the village and attending school again was definitely impossible. But therefore, I needed to look forward and spend time constructively. I got up from the bed and with my light headache spreading a frown across my face, I opened the computer again. Being able to do something about the tug of war being played on my funds would at least make me feel more relieved. With that in the back of my mind, I received one of the 3 scheduled emails of the day from a securities company. It was a mailing list service that sent information about shitty investment trusts and shady investment opportunities. And occasionally interesting info came out of it, so I decided to peruse it. So yeah, when trading, there's a lot of info can take off. Even your broker, online broker, they give you information. I read that also from time to time. But yeah, at the end of the day, or when the time you trade, you should have your own game plan. As always, while I was staring at the table of contents, my mouse cursor had already reached the trash bin. However, that caused my hand to twitch and click the what? And click the touch mouse was not the mail, was full of crap, the opposite in fact. Amongst the meaningless junk, there stood out the rare something that had some value. An invitation to an investment contest. I had heard of contests that invited people who excelled at stock trading, but was surprised that they had invited me. I guess this is the real deal, real plot unfolding. Furthermore, the grand prize was 200,000 moles. Okay, so you trade, then they give you more money. Interesting. My current net worth stood at 70,000 moles. So if I won, I'd increase my funds threefold. However, what threw me in the most wasn't that. Within the invitation for this contest was the following set of catch lines. All eyes from Schrödinger Street are on this contest. In addition to the prize money, the winner might have the possibility of getting scouted. The winner last time, Mr. Tony Rudy, was recruited into Platina Smith, and the winner of the first contest, Mr. Yan Suhu, ended up starting his own hedge fund. What lies in store for the winner this time? This was a bunch of cheap words intended to draw attention, but having been attracted, I couldn't reject those words. The prize money was obviously important, but the possibility of being able to get a foot in the door of Schrödinger Street, that single phrase totally blew me away. To work in such a firm the proper way, I'd have to study my butt off to get into proper top tier university and graduate with top grades with a top of the line major. Did they just repeat top 3 times? Furthermore, I wouldn't just be competing with people from the moon, I'd be also competing with a selected few brilliant immigrants from Earth. Therefore, this was a once in a lifetime opportunity for me. But even briefly looking through my current situation, I could see grim reality in the way. If I could repeat my fantastic dash that I managed to do right after leaving home, this prize could definitely be in my reach. However, right now, I felt like I was in a tunnel with no visible exit. I probably needed some different type of methodology from what I've been using up until now. While pondering that, I copied out the contents of the email and saved it, just in case. Now it's late night. I wasn't sure how much time had passed, but I heard some sound signaling that Lisa had come back. It had gotten quite dark outside, but I just realized that I had been on my own world picking out stocks with the lights still off. I guess this was all I could really do, but I think my concentration level wasn't all that bad. My body made some crackly sounds as I stretched, and I headed for the living room while taking a break. At that instant, I smelled something delicious. Ooh, is it Hagan? No, it's food, obviously. My eyes turned unconscious toward the kitchen. Hagana was in the middle of setting some Chinese food on the table. While wondering about when they had the time to cook, I noticed a large takeout basket under the table. Okay, so clearly I was right. It was Hagana making food. Delivery? Lisa, who was taking out small serving plates from the cabinet, chuckled at my question. Leftovers, well, it's part of the reason why I work there. Well, I don't mind. Someone who constantly paid and ate at the Lunar Chinese restaurant, I had mixed feelings about this, but I had no qualms with the price and the taste. I quickly took my plate at the table, but Hagan, who was still taking out food from the basket, stared unequivocally at me. Why aren't you helping? Oh my god. Because you didn't ask. I read something like this earlier. Yeah. Men don't have the initiative usually, but it's different from how I grew up. Well, me. Yeah, I don't want to talk about more about that. I had lifted my hands up with a shrug to tease her, and she furrowed her eyebrows. I was grinning smugly at my revenge for all the things she did to me when she delivered surprise attack. Help out. Normally, in this situation, wasn't she just going to swallow those words silently in irritation? At least I had expected that she'd be all pissed off, look down and ignore me while she continued with the preparations. It seemed that Hagan also had the same thoughts. I guess Hagan really was a tough customer. While thinking about that, I got even more daggers from Hagana's eyes. Stare at me more, Hagana. Well, they were saying I asked you, so get to work now. I shrugged, got up from my chair, and set the plates and chopsticks I got from Lisa on the table. Lisa stared to us intently. Well then, let's give our thanks to the Lord and Mr. Wang from the restaurant. I was gonna... okay. Lord and Mr. Wang. Say, thank you, Lord and Mr. Wang. With Lisa's words, dinner comments. Basically, the food used plenty of ingredients that were on the verge of going bad. Oh my god. There was pretty much no difference in taste. In fact, it was delicious. We polished off items that were just came combo sets like twice cooked pork, bell pepper pork stir fry, and egg rolls. So basically, chow. No. So what did you do all day? Lisa asked us just as Hagana to use her chopsticks to block me from taking a third shumai from the platter that originally held 6. Before I could respond to Hagana's don't you know division, Lisa used her own chopstick to place a shumai each on her in Hagana's plate and mine. Hagana and I looked back at Lisa, telling her that it was her share, but Lisa replied, "We must share what we have," and a smile. Apparently, it was written in the Bible or something. Okay. To that. The person currently watching. Hello there. Wait, what is that? Shrug and popped a shumai in my mouth. Hagana was more hesitant, ended up eating her as well. And well, with that, I answered Lisa's question honestly. Went to Newton City. Oh, for what? To scope the place out for a bank heist. That's kinda... yeah. Kinda makes sense. Kinda... yeah. Kinda makes sense. Lisa broke into laughter, treating it as nonsense, but I was surprised that Hagana was totally shocked. Duh, it's a joke. Okay. But when I reply, Hagana's expression changed from one of place to one of irritation as she looked at me. She was, for some reason, a bit dense when it came to certain things. So, the real reason? I like those treats. That wasn't a lie. I munched the salty pickled vegetables and took out the drink from my teacup. It's a bit too lively for me. It's that liveliness that brings out my drive. I chomped down half of my third egg roll and then realized what Hagana staring at me. Oh, there were only 6 of them to begin with. Lisa noticed us and quickly put one on Hagana's plate. I heard that Hagana only had this kind of appetite when it came to Chinese food. I don't know what you're doing with that try, but in either case, that's pretty good. I became a little humble when faced with Lisa's smile. I was wondering if she was making fun of me, but she had the usual carefree smile. Well, since I did provide you shelter, I would obviously be happy if you rested up and did your best. Yeah, but that's safe. Oh really, it's kind of pointless if you don't put in your effort yourself. Well, I guess. It's true. This is the moon after all. There was no point being here if you didn't work hard. If you wanted to just cruise along leisurely, then you could have done it on Earth. Haha, that's great. This is the moon after all. Lisa even mimicked my voice, causing me to choke on a piece of pork I had been eating. She was enjoying herself happily, but she was troubled and different from Hagana. Alright, but what about you, Hagana? What did you do to eat? Being perhaps satisfied with the usual teasing, Lisa had turned to Hagana and asked her what she did. I was also keenly interested in the reply. I wonder what she was doing while holed up in her room. She made no sound and occasionally got up to go to the bathroom. Hagana slowly finished her pepper pork stir fry. Pepper pork stir fry sounds like the menu of that Chinese Chinese fast food. As if she couldn't decide whether it was tasty or not, and then she replied unhurriedly. the same as usual. It was terribly blunt, but Lisa wasn't put off by it. So you got up, ate your meal, and hung up the laundry to dry, and then returned to my room to work on problems. Problems, I thought to myself. The whole time? I went to the bathroom once during the morning and continued to work on problems after getting back. So, did you solve them? 8 of them were pretty quick, but 4 of them took relatively longer. I see, that's pretty rare for 4 of them to be that difficult. Difficult, well, I wouldn't say that, but I think they were excellent problems. What problems are they talking about? Hagana spoke with her eyes closed as if she were pondering the problems again. Lisa broke in laughter, seeing Hagana like this. You really do like them, don't you? Hagana opened her eyes and slowly turned towards Lisa, and then a small blush developed on her cheeks. Lisa was beaming an unparalleled smile at Hagana's response. I kind of felt like I was watching a doting parent. But I couldn't say I couldn't understand a little of Lisa's feelings. I was also taken in by Hagana's reply, coupled with her rare show of embarrassment and her slight blush. I couldn't help feeling a sense of defeat. Then again, she did look pretty decent as she kept quiet. Besides, given that she'd normally only show me either a sour face or the face of disdain, I ended up rationalizing with no one in particular that I couldn't help it. So, what are we talking about? Bothered by my internal conflicts, I tried to distract myself by saying something. Besides, I was really curious. Oh, we were talking about math. Okay, math problems. Hagana is a teacher. That does make sense. You don't even know math. Oh my god, this girl and her retards. Hagana stopped smiling and asked in response out of what appeared to be a surprise instead of belittlement. As if we were being made fun of, I lowered my voice and replied, Of course I know. Haven't I mentioned it before? Hagana's very good at math. If it were just math, she'd be totally able to attend Lunar City University right now. Okay, I think they would be great pairs if Hagana's good at math and Haru's good at stocks. This is a interesting turnout. Every year, elite students from all over Earth come to attend Lunar City University. Even I knew how difficult it must be to get in such a place. So, were you working on the entrance exams? She already finished those. Right now, what was it you were working on again? On page 424 of Lloyd F. Steele's mathematical theorems, she replied immediately while drinking her soup. Oh yeah, but you're already 400 pages in. What? Is that a real ano? Lloyd's F. Steele is... In terms of the history of math, still stuff for some several 100 years in the past. I had no clue what they were talking about. I didn't think Hagana would actually explain it to me, and I would be annoyed if I had to ask. So I had turned my gaze against Lisa. Lisa, being her perceptive self, explained it to me without a smile. It's a digital copy I borrowed from the university of a classic book on mathematics. It's a bizarre book that has collected tons of mathematical theorems. 5,621 theorems. Hagana, stuck in a word, was obsessively trying to split a steam bun in half. We both turned to look at Hagana and then exchanged slight glances with each other, and so she's trying to derive proofs of all these theorems. Rederive? For example, with the Pythagorean theorem, you try to figure out on your own how to prove it. In other words, reconstructing the history of math built up over the past several millennia. Okay, that is indeed what a professor at the university would do. I hate those styles, but usually it would help you greatly to know your math. Wow. Assuming it were true, I'd have no choice but to say awesome to that. I'd probably be able to even at least half forgive the way she looked down on me. In that case, why not just attend the university? With my super logical utterance, Lisa and Hagana both looked at me with pity. What? Even if it's just one subject to totally ace, it wouldn't give you a free pass in it, right? It's not like there's age restriction, right? Because money, there are no age limits, and tuition can be covered by scholarship where there's a problem, right? Okay, what is the problem? If money is not the problem, what is the problem? My mind was blank for a bit after Lisa's words, but eventually I got it. That's right. Hagana's a runaway. Oh, okay. You can't enroll if you're a runaway. But limitations due to parents' legal guardians, etc. only apply until she becomes an adult. Life is long, so might as well take it easy in the meantime. Lisa smiled at Hagana. Hagana's nod at those words was filled with an aura of earnestness. Seemed that people have their reasons. A shrug and drank some egg drop soup. So that's all you did today? Today? What do you mean all we did today? Well, for some reason, after I came back, it seemed that there's some developments in how you treat each other. The soup in my mouth was inches from being spewed out. What the heck was that supposed to be? I kind of feel like something happened between you two that I don't know about. Would you care to fill me in? Nothing happened. This woman sure loves to dig into details even at the restaurant. This woman. Lisa asked back, full of smiles. However, those were certainly not smiles of happiness. I thought back to the last time I stepped on this landmine. Why would you call Lisa this woman? She's very forgiving of you, then you call her this woman. You sure love to dig into details. Yep, well, it's kind of like a job to me. Wait, a job? Never heard of a strange job like that. Well, it's kind of strange to call that a job. My duty? Well, something like that. It's not like I like doing it, you know. It's her hobby to poke in people's businesses. She said that with a hobby, besides she herself didn't seem to be saying those words seriously. Wait, I'm getting sidetracked. Well, nothing really happened. Oh wait, when I got back from Newton City, when I got that far in my sentence, there's a racket under the table. That was because I kicked up. And if you were to ask me why, it was because my opponent kicked my shins with her might. Oh, what the hell are you doing? Okay, so I guess Hagana was preventing Haru from saying what happened earlier. It was so abrupt and angry yell was the most I could muster. While Lisa's eyes were wide open with surprise, I was surprised too. I didn't strike back immediately, not because I thought Lisa would get angry, but because I had no idea what the heck was going on. Hey, Hagana, what are you doing? Lisa asked a question, but Hagana turned away and stayed silent. What, is she a kid? That type of behavior really makes her seem like a stubborn brat. While rubbing my shins, I was wondering whether she didn't want me to talk about it. I couldn't figure out exactly what would make her want to avoid that all of cost. What, so something did happen? Yeah. How did it turn out? Well, there was that. As I was about to begin, Hagana glared at me. However, Lisa held Hagana back with her arms. And with that, Hagana looked like she was about to cry. I was surprised that Hagana would be so against me telling the story, but it appeared Lisa wasn't so. I could see it from Hagana's expression. With a slight sigh, Lisa looked at me with a tired expression. Mr. Toyama came, I guess. Toyama. I guess that's the name of the debt collector. Lisa knew. Toyama? He didn't come here to collect on a debt. Hagana tried her best to stop Lisa, but once those words came out, the strength left her as if the end of the world had come. He sure did, and did you know? I was about to detail the ruckus that happened after I got back to the church, but then my eyes met Hagana's. Those eyes were filled with supplication. I was more than a little surprised to such a pompous egotist being able to make such a face. Pompous egotist. Making Toyama fly off the walls had probably happened once or twice before, and I didn't think Liz had condoned such behavior. My heart wasn't so shriveled as to totally rule out staying quiet after seeing such a humble entreaty from Agana. And did I know what? I took the receipt from my pocket and handed it to the expectant Lisa. I paid off the interest for you, so pay me back later. Staring for a few seconds at the 200 mul receipt she set on the table, Lisa had looked at me with a sigh. So now I owe you instead. Much better than that baldy, right? Lisa knew she shouldn't laugh, but couldn't hold back. She then took the receipt. Well, Mr. Toyama also has a hard time, you know. Well, he does look like kind of unfortunate. Hey! Wait, who said hey? Lisa. I shrugged unnaturally at Lisa's remark and worked on the rest of the stir fry. I knew she had put 200 muls into the cabinet, but when I looked at Lisa's face when she held the receipt, I didn't feel like telling her to get that out. I thought maybe I did something stupid, but if the time came, I could always ask her to nullify the rent. I stuffed my stomach full of pork and peppers and belched text during my next words. Well, just pay it back when you can. I also owe some favors too. Favors. If you could put some things more appropriately, you'd be popular with the girls, you know. Ha! I snickered and drank my tea. I was even a little ashamed of myself for wondering if that's what I was missing. I'll pay you back soon. Well, how soon would depend on that. Lisa chuckled weakly, and Hagana was definitely glaring at me after seeing Lisa's expression. Was Lisa depressed? Why would she get depressed? Anyway, she probably thought that I didn't deserve any thanks, but reason didn't really fly with this girl. Thanks for dinner. Okay. I'll drink water just a bit. I paid no heed to Hagana, got up from my chair, and went back to my room. After dark, I continued to watch the news and read up on the dark stocks puzzling over my avenue of attack for tomorrow, when there was a knock on my door. I figured it must be Lisa since she'd actually do the proper thing. As expected, her voice came through the door. Are you asleep? I'm not a great schooler, you know. Well, aren't you kind of like one? What? But wow, was reading stocks up until this late? Well, I probably look that way from the point of view of an auntie like you. What? Aunt? So what's up? I got a surprising amount of reaction. I figured I'd manage to pay her back for all the time she treated me like a kid. Lisa was about to say something but muttered it to herself and stated her business. Got time to come up here? What? Tinsard answered me after looking over the living room. At least while Hagana's in the bath. Well, okay, I guess. Wait a second. I closed my computer, put in the password lock sleep mode, and headed up into the hallway. Is it gonna be Lisa's route now? Wait, why are we even considering that? You're surprisingly methodological. What the hell is happening to my eyes? A man needs his shares of secrets to survive. Ha, right. Lisa walked out and I followed her. Losing The unreliable light from the diode lamp to guide our way, we headed up the steep stairs. The courtyard I saw during the day was lit up by light pouring out of Lisa's room. Lisa invited me into her room. Wow, Lisa, root now. Just kidding. What left me speechless wasn't that her room was all pink and girly. In fact, it was where the if that were the case, I would just laughed my head off before I feel any surprise. Lisa's room was a simple room, perhaps a little more crowded than mine, and it came with a bed and a head desk. There's a good reason for the cramped feeling though. There were real books lined up against one of the walls. Are these the real thing? That's right. They'd fetch a hefty price too. Lisa pulled out a chair for me, and then she opened a drawer and took out a small bottle. Ah, can you drink, Hal? For a second, I couldn't figure who this Hal was until I could quickly realize it was me. Perhaps it caught me by surprise, but it kind of odd and tingly. You mean alcohol? Or perhaps you've never had any. I'm not some loser. Hehe. And I was truly a loser when I proclaimed that. This was really good at making people dance on her palm. Or perhaps I really was a kid after all. Well, gotta try it to really know it. Wait. Are you... Lisa, what are you doing handing alcohol to a kid? It was an amber liquid and the whiff I had of it was quite smoky. Oh, it's some what do you call this? It's whiskey. Don't drink it all in one gulp. I thought I was being treated like a kid again and was about to drink it all down to show her, but she managed to slip some words in before that happened. I'd like you to savor the flavor. Yep, it's whiskey. This woman was truly underhanded. With a sulking face, I gave it a taste and was on the verge of coughing. Gah. Well, what did you want to talk about, or did you want to just want to boost me up? It's not really like that. There's something else I want to talk about today. Today? Yep. And Mr. Toyama came today. What really happened? Lisa switched the cup in front of her and stared down at it. As I dawdled, Lisa looked back up and continued. Haganas really can't keep a poker face about things, and well, you're kind of the same. Quiet. But I'm really happy that you covered up for her. I guess shaking hands isn't really needed to make up. Given a smile on Lisa's face as she said this, I could only begrudgingly accept that I was also happy about it. However, I couldn't just candidly say yes to her, knowing full well that I was being childish again. I lowered my voice as much as possible to give my reply. Not even that I'm petty-minded. Yep, I also believe that you weren't. Lisa sipped some liquor and swallowed it down gently. When I drank some, I felt like someone had shoved a smokestack in my mouth, but the way Lisa drank it was very fitting. This made Lisa irrefutably look like an adult and made me look like a child. Clearly, this is whiskey. However, I didn't think Lisa was doing that to look like an adult or anything. Rather, it appeared she might have been using it to loosen her lips. So, what happened? I don't know the details since I came in halfway. He came in halfway, huh? Okay. But well, I can imagine what happened when I returned. There was a big commotion. The old geezer was livid, throwing sofas and stuff around on rampage. And well, that girl was like her usual self. Hagana was like her usual self, totally angry and belligerent, while at the same time trembling. Sheesh. So then what happened? And then I instantly thought it was some burglar, smacked him down, restrained him, and shut him up. And while I was listening to the accounts of what happened, I realized that this old guy was probably not at fault. released him and paid off the interest. That's all. Lisa was staring at the cup for a second and took another drink as if to drink away a sigh, and then asked me, "So what about the lilies?" Oh, she's very keen at this, huh? She knows about the lilies. Lilies, oh that girl, Hagana. Haru keeps forgetting Hagana's name. Told me that there had to be 7, so I got some for her. Wait, how do you know that? Of course I'd know. Where do you think the laundry gets hung out to dry? Lisa rolled her eyes while asking me that. Oh yeah, I guess there'd be on the garden and the flower bed on the 3rd level. Furthermore, the ones in the base were something given to me, and the ones in the flower bed were the ones I grew. I was really depressed that 2 of them had been uprooted. But when I came back onto the living room, I saw the dirt-laden roots and the garbage and the smushed lilies thrown in with them together. Well, let's say that don't have to be an Einstein to figure out what kind of that happened. Brilliant deduction. But could I ask something? What? Why would Hagana want to hide this incident from me? It's not like it was the first time Hagana had looked down on people and pissed them off. Besides this Mr. Toyama, or what his face didn't appear to be some elite guest whom you shouldn't upset at any cost. Clearly, the value of the flowers, whoever gave that to Lisa. However, Hagana did everything she could to hide the incident. Perhaps she was overly concerned about the thing with the lilies and tried to hide everything. Yeah, it was. We're on our way there. It's probably the lilies. While I was wondering such things, Lisa slowly wet her lips with the liquor. She thinks the depth was her fault. Oh, okay, it wasn't the lilies. But it's about the death. Oh? Well, the fog lifted on something rather unexpected. Well, I guess I was originally at fault. I had lost a book I borrowed from the university. I guess it did look like something that belonged in a trash heap, so perhaps that child threw it away. However, even I wasn't totally sure. Besides, I was kind of sloppy with it as well, so of course I couldn't really blame her if that were the case. But she was really set on her beliefs and was really obsessed with that incident. I see, but well, you managed to skirt away using some money, right? It was really unexpected. But doesn't she own these books? It's weird that she have a loan. Is she a library or something? Why was she paying for that book? Wait, what book is it anyway? If you put it that way, it saved me a lot of talking. It wasn't really just a small amount of money, and since we're poor, we had to borrow the money to pay the fine. The banks wouldn't even give us the light of day, so the only people who'd lend us money were the locals like Mr. Toyama. He's a good guy. He didn't even ask for collateral when lending us the money. Was he an idiot? The interest was pretty low too. What, the interest wasn't that low? Don't be an idiot. It was quite low. Deposit interest rates at the bank started at around 3%, right? Just storing it at the bank earned you 3%. What bank gives you 3% interest? So lending money to some penniless person at 6% with no collateral must have been sure sign of madness. I did that before. So I'm a bad person? I didn't know. Aren't you an adult? Lisa smiled bitterly at my exasperated exclamation and just shrugged. So, Hagana also knew the guy was an idiot, but how does that turn into a reason to hide the scuffle from you? The dots aren't connecting for me. Yeah, it doesn't connect for me either. For a second, I thought she was trying to dodge the question, so I started to talk again. However, I realized that wasn't the case and clamped my mouth shut. Lisa's smile was quite sad. This was the first time I realized that people can laugh with such a sad face. I really think I can trust you, Hal. What's with you also? I'm not trying to flatter you. can somewhat figure out what people are really like inside after seeing their various aspects. You try to act all mean and stuff, but you are really a good kid instead. I couldn't get angry at Lisa's serious face, even while I was thinking the whole time that she was making fun of me. And that's why I'm going to tell you, got it? Lisa clung onto the silver-colored cup in her hand as if her life depended on it. Okay, so far we're 1 hour away. Another 1 hour more to go. I once got really angry at her for that before. Got angry at her for Hagan intentionally trying to piss off Mr. Toyama. I guess that really was the case. Yep, she would try her best to anger him when I wasn't looking, and furthermore, as you've said, she was actually afraid. I recounted my memory of Hagana defiantly yelling angrily with her body flush against the wall, the corners of her eyes totally red and her hands trembling. You know the reason for that? Nope. Well, even I didn't know at first. However, when I yelled at her the first time for it, she said this. She said, even if you had no money to pay it back, everything would be solved if you just ship me off, right? Okay, that's very heavy. I see. What? I guess normally you wouldn't know what that was all about. However, I immediately realized what she meant. When I was back on Earth, such story were a dime a dozen. Her cup came as she stared blankly and deeply into her cup. I was assaulted by the premonition of something even worse than I could totally hate. Something worse than dog trap. She wouldn't tell me her personal story, so this is all just conjecture. But they came to the conclusion that she was bought with money. You can't be serious. Okay. Bought with money, then she ran away. Before I could finish my sentence, the root of my tongue had frozen completely solid. Many of the folks from my village came from the darkest corners of the earth. There were a lot of cheerful dudes, but I had the feeling they were trying to make up for something. They said there were places on the earth that people from more affluent countries would never overlook. Even if such places were inside countries, the lunar metropolis was a powerful contraption to extract money from Earth. It was a tool to make money using various methods. So it wouldn't be strange if there existed things like the ones they talked about. In fact, it would be odd if there weren't. So adopting a talented child wouldn't be a rare occurrence, right? Even if the adopter didn't feel that way, it is quite possible for the adopted to feel that she had been bought. Okay. She's adopted. Then she thinks that she's been bought. Can be the case. Such strategies when children are being bought and sold. Lisa's tone didn't sound like she was just rambling about the matter. When I considered Lisa quite an annoying woman, I also felt that she was probably whose feet were firmly planted in the ground. Lisa probably investigated the matter herself. Nagana's math talent are truly marvelous. After all, she got full marks on the entrance exam for the Lunar City University. She'd definitely be able to get a scholarship to the point of having even clothing, food, and lodging being covered by the university. Hagana had to be looking towards that, but she'd definitely not say a word of it. I guess she's been the most interested in right now. Making money. A bad taste spread throughout my mouth. Even if I wanted have my own beliefs about a person while not knowing anything about that person, having the truth laid before me would naturally incur this reaction. I think she takes it out on others because of all the pain she endured. But if she put all strength into enduring her pain, she wouldn't be able to control herself. But a debt is a debt, and it's not like you couldn't pay it back, right? It's not like that girl need to sell herself. Why are you even mentioning that, Haru? You just shouldn't mention that. It's not an option. Not being able to understand exactly what's meant to sell oneself. I felt I said something quite stupid. Yeah, there we go. But Hagana was apparently quite talented, and she didn't look bad either when push comes to shove that method of selling would work. That's right, that's what I wanted to say, but Lisa heaved a big sigh and continued drinking. After gulping down one, she roughly poured herself some more. I'll pay it back, actually even right now. What? I looked at Lisa in amazement. Even then, I followed up my exclamation. You're gonna sell yours? Lisa spilled her liquor and started coughing. Ugh, gross. Sheesh, you don't say such bizarre things. Well, that's kind of how the conversation flowed. Manuel, it probably wasn't too far off the mark. Huh? I do have things to sell, however, they are pretty much a part of me, so I was hesitant at selling them. Lisa looked up, staring off into space like some precocious child observing the stars for the first time. However, what she was staring at wasn't the far-off nebulae, but was rather something closer. The bookshelves. Oh yeah, the books will definitely fetch quite a price, since there are no books on the moon. To collectors. Well, wait, huh? What? So you sell books to pay off a book. What kind of book was it? Was it a book, or I didn't truly understood what you're talking about? It's like you're running away from wanting to work, but I've been trying to avoid the problem. If I sold a few of the books lining the shelves, I'd be able to pay back the loan. Are they really that awesome? As time passes, the amount of books can't increase, they can only decrease. And in that sense, they are precious. A part of the font of human knowledge rests upon these books. So in that sense, they are awesome, but stop copying me. It's not just like life would be harder without them. And so in that sense, they aren't that great. But selling them would feel like ripping apart a part of my own body. I still have no clue what you're spouting. Besides, if you sold them, could you just buy them again later? My problems would be a lot simpler if that were the case. You can't buy them again? Books like this aren't the ones you'll find anywhere, and they're not books that everyone's going to want. Those people who want them are fanatic about them, and once they get their hands on them, it's very rare they'd want to get rid of them. Even on Earth, only a few books of this type exchange hands per year, probably. Therefore, if I put this up for sale, I'll definitely find a buyer, but there's a very good chance I'll never get them back again. What books are those even? It's not like I'm waiting for them to appreciate and value to sell them. They're more like friends and comrades to me, if you get my meaning. I felt something from the glimpse Lisa threw at me. Putting comrades for sale will definitely yield buyers, but once your comrades are sold, you'll never get them back. And that's why I've been dragging my feet. If I found an adult dragging their feet on doing something they shouldn't be doing, I totally want to kick their butt and split on them. However, even with those beliefs, I couldn't bring myself into thinking that in front of Lisa. I could see that Lisa really loved these books like real people who were their friends and comrades. The sight of her standing in front of the bookcase, leaning on the bed, and speaking absent-mindedly gave the impression of a girl at her wit's end. And that wasn't something shameful. If this was something that would drive even Lisa to her wit's end, then it must be truly something formidable. And that must be without a doubt her love for books. Well, I guess you just have to pay it back bit by bit. Well, you're right, that's the case, but as if to proclaim her return to reality, she let out an adult yet bitter smile and polished off the rest of the liquor in her cup easily. And you're the same, aren't you? In 20 days, I'll have you find some way to make money. In 20 days, huh? Revealing no signs about my stock trading, I replied sulkily. Well, as you can see, I'm really in no position to lecture you. However, I do have one thing to say. Yeah? That stuff about Hagana. Oh, yeah. I have a wish to ask of you. What? Like, could you please get along with her because of her sad predicament? Lisa kept mimicking me so much that I decided to mimic her in return. Okay. I thought she'd get mad. But getting so much moral education stuff pushed on me made me kind of mad too, so we were even. Okay. This is a very serious talk so far. And it's kinda getting to me in the mood. But yeah, this is part of the story. And this build up, it is interesting. This was the moon after all. Why would you consider loading yourself with baggage if you're going to be flying up? You got it. However, Lisa didn't get angry. Instead, she poured herself some more liquor and wet her lips with it. I think she's drinking too much. Actually, it's a little different from wanting you to get along with her. It's possible for people to have disagreements, right? I think Hagana and I are like that. That's probably the case. However, when Hagana's glaring down at you, you stop instantly doing things in response to intentionally upset her, right? You got a point there. That's good enough. What I want you to do is to acknowledge her. Acknowledge? Yep, people's existences are such ephemeral things. Wasn't there such thing from old Fae legends that the Fae can continue to exist as long as people believe in their existence? Once people forgot about them, then they couldn't continue to exist. Haven't you heard about something similar of that? Unfortunately, no. There were tales like that, and it's not like limited to Fae. What the hell is Fae? Anyone would be happy if they got complicated, and something worry about you allows you to believe that you are meaningful existent to them. People can think of themselves human being if they are all alone. No way. It's true. There have been examples on Earth where someone who grew up with dogs would only think of themselves as dogs. What is this? To acknowledge someone is to give a proper response to them, even if that were to be one of disgust. Lisa took a breath and stared at me. It became a bit harder for me to breathe. Lisa had always been caring to me. Deciding to answer her pointless question was in part because she respected me. I don't mind if you guys have arguments, but I don't think you guys are such opposites either. What? Yeah. Well, and the one thing I should ask most of you is... Lisa cut off my words, stood from the bed, and held my hands. Don't ignore her. She has lost all faith in herself and self-worth. It can't be healthy for someone to think that selling herself would be the way to pay back a debt. I want to say that everyone is equal before the Lord, but before that, I want her to never forget that she's a human being and not just some item. I know that it's the moon and that the trend here, that anything that can be turned into money is worthless, but those last words skewered my heart. I'm sure Lisa saw through my expression of pain at that moment. Lisa looked at me and chuckled slightly. I tried to hide my embarrassment and thought about lashing back in anger, but it didn't happen. Since at that moment, Lisa embraced me softly. Clearly, this is Lisa Ruth. Hal, you have such a good sense of self, and that was definitely because of your parents. Yeah, right, my parents. Haru's parents is the reason why he ran away from home. The way they thought were probably totally different, but I believe they must have said things to you to the point of where you got sick of it. I couldn't object because she got it precisely. After all, I left the village because my freaking parents' unmovable convictions made me want to puke. However, that is in itself the marvelous mark of love, since if they didn't care about you, they wouldn't do that. And if you didn't have those freaking annoying parents, it would have been hard to collect those thoughts, right? Save this. I made a clearly bitter face at being mimicked again, and Lisa chuckled after noticing it indirectly. Lisa's breathing lightly brushed up my ear, and it was a ticklish sensation that made me sleepy. I shelter those who run away from home with a place to go, because I believe they need someone to acknowledge them. In any case, the moon is such a busy place, a bustling and stimulating place like you said, so most people have no time to care about others, right? But I received the Lord's teaching, so I feel like I'd be able to do something like that. Lisa stepped back and picked up the cup I was holding with the liquor in it. What do you think? She posed me the question at the end. I totally salute someone to be able to refuse at this point. However, much to my chagrin, I did not understand what Lisa was trying to get across. Actually, it's kinda confusing. But pretty much, Lisa was just asking Haru to get along with Hagana. Didn't want to admit that those annoying parents loved me even if we're on my deathbed. But if I felt like I was able to figure out what I needed to succeed on the moon because of them, it was kind of like teaching me what not to do. And besides, even if their way of thinking was different, it was true that I learned from those guys in the village helped me many a time. Concern, one's value as a human. Story didn't felt fish to me, but at least it seemed that Hagana hadn't been leading such a happy life. Water break. Thus, at least being a bit kinder to her wasn't all that bad. Besides, whether I argued with her or whatever, as long as I didn't ignore her, it would be fine. I looked back at Lisa and replied woodenly, I get it. And at that moment, Lisa beamed a smart, warm smile. Thank you. Well, let's keep what we talked today a secret. And alcohol seems to be a bit too early for you, so don't drink it while I'm not here, okay? Instead of complaining about her nagging, I resorted to spitting out my breath as it were clicking my tongue. I realized it was something childish to get laughed at by Lisa, but I had no choice. I was kind of disappointed that she said thanks to me. It would have been bad if she find out what was I thinking. I had totally thought that she'd hug me again. Crap, stop it. Stop it, I'm being an idiot. Good night. Her echoes as she closed her words as she closed the door stuck with me for some time. The next day marketed the first rain fall in a long while on the moon. Of course it wasn't some natural phenomenon but rain generated on a managed schedule. There were air purification mechanisms all over the place. However, the moon's low gravity allowed dust particles generated from people's everyday living and erosion of buildings to keep up into the air easily. Therefore, everyday washing down with some rain. Everything, some rain was more effective. Okay, that clearly makes sense. This is really nice explanation, science explanation. Just to bring down the dirt from the air, you need steam and water. I heard that on Earth sometimes houses would get blown away or everything would be flooded as far as the eye could see. Meanwhile on the moon all we get would be the same gentle rain. However, I guess the rain did put a damper on me. It was probably because the rainy days were planned out in advance and stores were often closed due to the lack of foot traffic in the city. A hush fell over everything. I did some light exercises and left my room while hugging my computer. Light rain, 'stops businesses'? What kind of rain is that? The moon people are weak to stop businesses on light rains. The living room was dim even with the lights on. Lisa and Hagana were in the middle of having some bread. Oh, good morning. Hey! With my curt reply, I placed my computer on the table and opened the display. It was still an hour before the markets opened, but I wanted to check the news. You sure are some junkie. How many slices of bread do you want? One slice. Just one slice? You're a guy. You know, is that enough? Okay, then 2 slices. I was only looking at the screen when I answered, and I could hear Lisa muttering complaints about my reply. But she seemed to be having fun, so I didn't really get it. Glancing over sideways at Lisa naturally put a gun into my field of vision. I felt a little subconscious after that talk with Lisa yesterday. Excuse me. Atagana was ignoring me as usual, quietly nibbling on her bread without giving me a glance. Excuse me. Her smooth black hair and thin fingers felt like artificial creations. Her small mouth made me wonder if it's even too big enough for everyday necessities. And she... What? And she also had those spunky eyes. Why was Haru even thinking about Hasagana's mouth? If you ignored her personality and just judged her with her looks, I felt that it certainly wouldn't be odd if there were people who were willing to buy her with money. Okay, that was Haru's trail of thoughts. On the moon was filled with people who had the type of money. On average, a working person would be able to make from 2 to 3 million moles in his lifetime. Thus, to buy that girl, 5 million moles would be plenty. This was certainly an amount that people at the head of the pack on the moon would be able to afford, buying people with money. As a concept, I thought it was actually pretty natural. However, once face to face with someone who was actually involved in the matter, I had a very strange feeling about it even before mentioning pity. It's always like that. Unless you're actually involved in the matter or seeing it up front, that's when people think of how those things are not really natural. What? I snapped back at reality when Hagana cast a suspicious gaze at me. It turned out I'd been staring at Hagana without realizing it. She stared at me with suspicion for a while, then looked around herself and wiped her mouth. Realizing there was nothing clinging to her mouth, she continued to stare at me suspiciously. There's nothing stuck to it. I checked before you said anything anyway. It was her usual bad-tempered tone, but for some reason, I wasn't really pissed off by it. If I calmed down and listened to what she said, it's not like it was anything particularly bizarre. It wasn't like I was going to ignore her, even if I could see Lisa looking at me worriedly from behind Hagana. Hey girl, what's with the black get-up all the time? Well, about it. Is it really any of your business? I thought that would be her follow-up, thinking about it calmly, though I wondered if it might be a real question rather than a rhetorical quip. To place myself in her shoes, I definitely asked something similar if I had just been stared at and then asked about my clothing. I shrugged and said, well, I was kind of curious since you always dress the same. Well, aren't you the same brat? Really, they have this really nice banter. At that moment, Lisa had been placing toast on the tables. Plates cut in. Hagana, he's not Hal, not Brat. Well, he called me hey girl. Hal. Swelling butter and bread. Lisa called my name while jerking her chin lightly in Hagana's direction. Hagana. What? Is she trying to train us like dogs? Though I would guess being stubborn would only be something only a child would do. I opened my mouth in resignation. Oh, Miss Hagana, I was just curious as why you possess clothes which all bear the same appearance. Hagana-san, something like that. I recalled what I learned in grade school. Good job! Oh my god. And Lisa replied like a teacher. Okay, Hagana. Lisa towards Hagana. Is she really training Haru and Hagana to behave like grade schoolers in a school? And not to mention, Hagana is a teacher. And Hagana was surprisingly hesitant. I felt like she had been looking back and forth between my face and Hagana's face at least twice now. The hesitant Hagana was like a little animal that had been squirted with a water bottle. Oh, well, you're the same. Hal. Good, well done. This was the first time I saw Hagana fumble at words. If not her first spoiled princess demeanor, she has much emotion as a metallic robot. But with this, she immediately started looking more girlish. I couldn't help feeling I was just a simple guy. Hagana's looks, at least, were cute. Really cute. Just like Jacqueline and Artonelico too. Well, about the exchange we just had, I could have some opinions of my own. Lisa said as she handed me a slice of bread. And both Hagana and I look at her. Why only a slice of bread? I thought it was 2 slices. She cleared her throat and said, You two, be more conscious about how you're dressed. Looking over our synchronized eyebrow furthering, she continued, Lavish decorations lead to ruin, but going around in rags leads to ruin as well. It's kind of waste when you can still wear them though. Frugality is important, but so is looking proper. Mine aren't rags. But you only have one set of those. Huh? Lisa and Hagana turned together to look at me after my exclamation. Hagana proceeded to repeat herself. Mine are not rags. I wrinkled my upper lip. And they don't stink. With that line, I became uneasy rather than mad. Is it starting to smell again? I lost trust in myself and ended up trying to smell myself. Lisa smiled wryly. No, you're okay, for now at least. Dear Haru, please do your laundry. Oh, so I was fine all along. But you stunk before. Oh, shut up. Shut up? My brows were fully wrinkled. Being asked to repeat myself directly take me off a bit. As we glared at each other intensely, Lisa tapped her fork on the plate. Stop it, you two. Besides, both of you only have one set of clothing. That is kind of rare around here. Let me take a quick break. Hagana, you don't have classes today, right? Lisa suddenly changed the topic, but Hagana was unfazed and answered immediately. Yes. And Hal, you're free this evening. When I got asked, I ended up answering a stupid frankness. Well, if it's after 5, wait, don't tell me. That's right. When the rain stops in the evening, the two of you go shop for some clothes. The shopping center on the second block has a ton of expensive clothing stores. Hagana and I look at each other. Your answer? Hagana turned into Lisa when she asked that like one of Pavlov's trained dogs. Pavlov is one... It's about the conditioning, yeah. I remember now. And then after turning to Lisa, she made a face, her own way of saying, oh shoot. Lisa looked straight back at her and smiled. I guess Lisa's smile was unblockable from the point of view of Hagana, who had supposedly thrown away a precious book of Lisa's, landing the church in a huge amount of debt. Staring down slightly and resigning herself to her decision, she replied in her usual manner. Yes. What about you, Hal? If I had said no here, we'd know immediately who was being a child. Furthermore, I was neither brutish nor obtuse enough to be able to stand being called smelly all the time. However, just couldn't shake the principle of it being unnecessary spending. As I look over my clothing futilely one last time, Lisa had been looking at me, smiling. At that moment, I realized why Lisa appeared so mature. This woman, with just a smile, was able to display a plethora of emotions. It must be due to being older. I just sighed my resignation and replied, "Alright, I got it. Good." She was smiling happily when she said that. Okay. Some clothes buying time. Maybe it was due to the weather, but the markets today didn't really have any particular momentum, making my job difficult. Stocks could only move either up or down, and so on the day where there was no clear direction of movement, trading strategies I just usually yielded nothing yielded nothing for me to do. Wow, it's really hard to read and talk for a long time like this. For example, there were times when the stocks would all tumble because of some random trigger. As a result of my gluing my eyes to the news, I realized that it didn't matter exactly what triggered it. It might be, for example, that a large enterprise fiscal reports were bad, or a politician of a developed country was caught in some immoral scandal, or perhaps that the planets had aligned. I knew that on those days, it didn't matter whether a particular company had good earnings or bad earnings. It's just stock would get down in price anyway, just because of news. Just like in the elections right now. Hence, on those days, I'd watch the display without trading, seeking out stocks that had been dragged down by the general sentiment in the bank. It's strange, but on those days when stock would fall for some trivial reason, I'd always see people selling off as if the world were ending soon. These cowards would sell off that day, but would then rally the next. On the other hand, when the markets were when a bull run, it became a chaotic festival with people selling and buying stocks one after another. But on dull days like this, I could buy some stock for 10 moles and then remain at 10 moles for the rest of the day. And if I did that, I'd definitely lose out due to the commissions. I was scoping out the situation during morning trading, but it would look like it was going to be like this for the whole day. On these days, I forced myself to do some trading. I'd only end up losing in the end. Even disregarding that, my recent losses had started standing out, so I didn't push myself and decided to close the computer. But man, the rain. It was dark outside and the drizzle continued. Outside my window was a narrow alley, so no one passed by. Shutting down the computer made the room silent except for the sound of raindrops hitting the ground under the eaves. Hagana should be in the next room over, but it was silent as usual. Wonder what should I do? This is the problem once I decided to not trade for the day. And then I ended up not being able to figure out what to do. Anyways, I decided to leave my room and walk down the dim hallway towards the living room. Entering the living room, I saw Lisa reading a book while sitting on the shabby sofa. I guess no stock trading today. Guess let's save and this second option. Oh, I guess Lisa must have noticed my footsteps as she turns toward me. I didn't answer immediately and instead took some orange juice from the fridge and poured some into a cup. Well, it would probably be more authentic if we were some middle-class family from the White Belt, but around here, the orange juice was just some orange-colored sweet-tasting chemical concoction. Not working on the computer today? Can't get into the mood. Oh yeah, I guess you do have those days. Lisa wasn't particularly interested and returned to reading her book. It wasn't some digitized version, but the real deal. When her slender fingers flipped a page, it made an unreliable sound. What are you reading? Lisa looked at me and paused for a second. What time is it? Okay, 12:14. We have like around 30 minutes more. It looked like she was thinking about how to answer my question. It's a very old book you totally wouldn't get. Okay, she really knows how to tease people. Of course, that totally wouldn't get was her mimicking her. When I made the face, she turned back at her book, her shoulders shaking with amusement like a child's. Fraser's The Golden Bough. What is that about? What? It's a book of religious stories from all over the world collected by some curious Englishman more than 100 years ago. On rainy days, I start wanting to read this for some reason. Lisa flipped the page again while talking. Is it interesting? Well, the book itself doesn't present any clear conclusions, and to be honest, there's a ton of falsehoods in here as well. However, it is the distillation of millennia of human culture, so at that point, Lisa stopped to press her face up to a page as if she were savoring the scent of the book. Perhaps it's just appropriate for a Christian like me to be reading this book while raining on the moon. Totally not getting it. Same. There's that saying that you shouldn't underestimate the world. I got the feeling that she dodged the question, treating me as a kid again, and I scratched my head lightly. So in the end, it's just an elegant way of passing time, right? Exactly. Her simple reply actually made it more uninteresting. In other words, it was pretty stupid to continue, and I heaved a sigh. Speaking of which, you sure look bored, I guess. My goodness, a proper young person being idle isn't a good thing. On days like this, it's best to stay put. Well, I agree to that, but there's a problem. A problem? Of course there is. It's unhealthy for a young man to merely listlessly wander around all day. Well, there really isn't anything for me to do, so what should I be doing? There's nothing? What, are you going to suggest I go study or something? Lisa smiled with a troubled face. Do I look like the type of person to say that? Surprisingly, no. She then laughed at my response. You don't have any hobbies other than doing your computer thing? Hobbies? Furrowed my brows instinctively and shot back a reply. Hobby? You're calling this a hobby? Of course, Lisa doesn't know. Don't tell me you actually don't have anything else. What? I kind of shrank back from Lisa's serious gaze. No problem with that. Oh? I totally don't have time for no hobbies. I said that from the bottom of my heart, but it ended up sounding like an excuse. I needed to win at the stock market to survive. I needed to excel at the stock market for my dreams. If there was anything I lived for, I couldn't imagine it before being anything other than standing where no one had stood before. I had no time to do leisurely things Lisa would do, like passing the time reading useless books from the annals of history. It was true that currently I had nothing to do and was not just wandering around, but that was because trading was unexpectedly not going too well. Okay, Haru, reading history is something great, and reading history is, well, trading history, chart history is, you should. Well, I guess that's the point of that. I guess if you're okay with it, then that's fine. I guess Haru is only interested in the history of the stocks. After staring at me for a few moments, she returned to her book. Part of me wasn't quite satisfied with something, but I couldn't pinpoint out what. Unable to figure it out, I continued to stare at Lisa, who then turned the page and said, Well, you know the saying, man does not live by bread alone. What? I responded in earnest because I actually didn't understand, but Lisa didn't give me a reply. She was deep in her book as I had simply disappeared. I guess it's some book more than a century old about the gods of earth filled the mountains of lies. It'd be impossible to imagine anyone other than Lisa reading such a book on the moon. It's not like there'd be a hobby as pure as this. Usually, I'd just write it off as some idiot wasting their precious life on useless things. But now, I felt it as if I were on the losing side for some reason. Yeah, Haru, don't brush off people as idiots wasting their time on useless things. Don't brush people life like that. I was not mistaken to dedicate my daily life to stock trading, and right now there's not was a good reason for not trying to push myself to trade. Haru is just stuck at trading stocks, and he doesn't have a hobby. Do yeah, should be balanced. However, I felt uneasy, getting the feeling that it would be very mistaken to simply stand there. It was true, I simply wasn't in the mood today. It was a pain to search through stocks, even though I decided not to trade today. So I also didn't want to return to my room in the computer. I wonder if my feeling like crap was also a product of the rain. As I was staring out the window, I heard a soft bam. Is it Taghana? Looking in the direction of the strange sound, I noticed Lisa had closed the book. Okay, it's Lisa pala. Lisa closing the book. And then she laughed in resignation. Oh well, big sis Lisa, she will play with you. What? It's not like I was asking for that. Okay, so Haru is the real tsundere here. Oh really? With that, she simply pulled back. I was actually happy inside about her offer, and thus I regretted my childishness. However, Lisa apparently was able to sense my actual feelings and see through my act. And then she chuckled and stared at me leisurely. Boys sure are stubborn. Gah. It was true that I didn't have a clue as to what I should do with my spare time. And besides, if I became pig-headed over here, I'd totally pass out thinking about my stupidity later. But it wasn't on that level where I should just say, hey, let's play. I was hesitant for a bit, then conflicted. Finally, I ended up announcing my surrender with a sigh. What kind of play are we talking about? I guess some board games, I guess. I wanted to at least stress that I was going along with this because I had no other options. Yep, Haru is a real tsundere. Hey, so what shall we do? Since you have a computer, you want to play some games? Or maybe we should bake some cookies. Cookies? Oh, you wanted to make some cookies? Well, that means Hagana could have some later, so let's do that. Well, it's not... Even though I voiced my complaints, they didn't reach Lisa's ears. She got up from the sofa and performed a big stretch towards the ceiling. It's been a while. I wonder if I'm still any good at baking them. Oh well. I gave up and looked at Lisa. Well, let's start with some cleanup, and then we'd gather the ingredients. It'd be okay to rush past if we are making something else, but with sweets, preparation and process is quite important. Especially with baking, because baking is not a simple task. Oh yeah? If I were going to do it, we might as well make some fantastic cookies. Well then, teach us how to make fantastic cookies. Fantastic cookies. Well, let's first ready the utensils. Okay. Following Lisa's instructions, I collected the utensils and set up on the table. First, since it would be bad to get your clothes dirty, here, put this on. Lisa handed me an apron. It was something she had always done when making dinner. If I put this on, what are you going to use? Me, since I'm just giving directions, I wouldn't need one. Oh, okay, so Haru is gonna do everything. Let's first get 150 grams of butter. Here. 150 grams. Oh, this scale was calibrated for earth use. Just divided by 6 and you'd be fine. What the attention to detail of this game. The gravity, 150 grams and all that. Interesting. What's next? 200 grams of cake flour. That don't divide evenly. Treat it like if real life may compromise. Wait a minute. That's not how you bake. That's only for cooking. Such nonsense. They'll be fine, Ryan. What's next? Oh my god. They're butchering it. 70 grams of granulated sugar, a bit of baking powder. It does call for one egg yolk, but I guess a whole egg would be fine too. Hey, I can at least separate out a yolk, you know. Okay, once you've placed all those on table, spread out a paper towel beneath and sift the cake flour as well. If you did a half-hearted job here, the flour would be clumped up. Even baking is they're being detailed on baking. Oh yeah, I guess we've seen something similar in the kitchen before. Well, recalling something I had seen ages ago, I tapped the sieve and sprinkled flour down. Oh, your mom's handmade cookies, huh? I wonder if mine would be a match for them. No idea. I'm a bit young to be able to pick up a wife's tapes, so I guess it should be surprising if I lost. I ignored her words and continued to sift the flour. Meanwhile, Lisa poured hot water from a pot into a large bowl. What are you doing? I've got to soften the butter a bit. Are you done with the sifting? Something like this, right? Okay, here. She handed me the small bowl of butter and a whisk. What? Slightly dip the bowl with the butter into the hot water and then stir slowly while the butter is softening. Okay, now we're at Lisa's cooking show. And she's teaching us how to make cookies. We're just softening the butter, so don't melt it. Afterwards, just keep stirring. Don't give me such difficult instructions. You must take a shot at everything in life. I heaved a sigh and sank the bowl into the hot water a bit and started letting the butter melt a little, just as I was told. Next to me was Lisa, the foreman, staring at me, shouting out things on a whim like, "You're pushing it in too much," or "Put more guts into it." Finally, the butter had become somewhat loose and I broke it up forcefully and smashed it down. Mash, not smash. So how long do I keep it stirring? Until it gets to be like melted vanilla ice cream. We don't have any electric mixers. We're in a low gravity environment, so quit complaining. What does gravity do with it? I ended up hugging the bowl and started stirring it. At first, it was just sticking to the stirrer, so I wasn't sure whether if I was mixing it or just crushing it. But it eventually started turning viscous, so it felt more like mixing. Lisa added a pinch of salt and then, after more mixing, dropped the egg in. Okay, keep on mixing. Lisa, of all people, started talking in a strange rhythm. I was pretty much totally into it, mashing things around. And then Lisa lifted her head a bit. Oh, Hagana. This is a very weird sound coming from the stream right now. And then I looked up from the bowl. Hagana was frowning and looking this way, as upset as could be. Well, we're making cookies. Want to come help too? I won't. Sabi nga ni Kuya Da, I won't. Hagana phrased it simply and walked across the living room to the bathroom. She hasn't been in this bad of a mood for a while. Isn't she always like this? When she's in a good mood, she'd ponder it a bit more before saying no. I see. With that, I started getting the feeling that I was beginning to wonder why Lisa bothered with me. I wonder if she got hit with the difficult of our problem. Lisa was gradually adding cake flour to the bowl, and I put my heart into mixing so that it wouldn't clump up. They should be at least get some motorized cooking implements. So how long do I keep mixing? Maybe a bit longer. Okay. At least, alright, no more complaints, mister, since you're going to be enjoying some delicious cookies afterwards. I wanted to eat them without the manual labor. Stop quibbling. Lisa bopped me on the head and brushed her hand away as she thought it were a nuisance. At that moment, Lisa's mobile terminal let out a ring. Oh, a phone call. Lisa got up on the table, picked up the terminal on the wall, and was surprised at the number. Sorry, just keep mixing this for a bit, okay? And with that, she went in the direction of the bathroom. I could only hear her muffled voice through the door, but she sounded happy to me. I had inadvertently strained my ear to hear, probably because of a little bit of jealousy on my part, and as a sudden ding-dong like the sound of notes on a dried-up xylophone gave me a fright, as though I've been caught misbehaving. What? When I looked around, the door to the bathroom was open, and I could see Lisa's face as she was talking to the terminal. Can you hold on a second? Hal, go get it. What? The door. Oh. It appeared the sound had come from the intercom. Setting the bowl down, I walked half-heartedly over towards the entrance of the church. Lisa went back to the bathroom and continued her conversation. But who would want to visit this place? Perhaps if a certain Toyama had come to collect debts again. While pondering that, I slid open the bolt and opened the door. Oh, another girl in Haru's harem. I was thinking of describing her. That there's also the description there. But, she must be an American? Probably. Golden hair, freckles, glasses, boy's cap. Is she a girl or a guy? There's a petite figure wearing a red coat and staring down at the electronic notebook, typing away at it. Though while it was a petite figure, there were bulges on either side of the hips, indicating that there were some large packages being transported. The figure was slim, but it's probably a boy. Okay, it's a boy. And I looked suspiciously at him. He started talking before looking up. Good afternoon. I'm with Corporation with your usual vegetables, and I also have some questions for Miss. And as he looked up, he froze. I could see beautiful eyes staring at me through large glasses. There were a few freckles around his small nose, so I realized he must have come from Earth where the UV is harsher. Okay. So, she is a messenger from Earth. However, besides that, I could tell one glance that he looked kinda deep with. My god, Haru, you're such an asshole. Say what? When I asked him while she was standing there, he took a big step while keeping his eyes on me. It was midday, so there were passerby as usual. He had attracted some odd glances, but he didn't move his eyes away from me. There are passerbys currently when it's raining. I thought there were less people outside. And then he regained his senses, looked at his electronic notebook, surveyed the surroundings, and looked at me again. What is it? She shrugged his shoulders reflexively and asked me cautiously, This is the 6th Avenue Church, right? I pondered for a moment and then replied, No, that name does sound familiar. Is my teacher Miss Hagana here? Miss Hagana. I repeated his words and couldn't stop myself from giggling. I guess it was true that she was teaching. She's here. By the way, isn't it kind to be dangerous while standing there? After being told that, it looked like she finally realized that she was smack dab in the middle of the road. Well, I thought he was kind of dim-witted. I did admire his strong steps while he was stepping forward carrying all that luggage. It looked like he was used to transporting large items. So, what was it again? Yes. Didn't you say something about vegetables? Yes. He cleared his throat and took in a big breath. My name is Chris Khan and I'm from Khan Corporation. No matter if you need fresh foods like vegetables or stationery, we are a one-stop source for delivery to anywhere on the 6th Street. We at Khan await your orders. With that, he finished his clear speech in one go. It was totally drilled into him by his parents. Why did he suddenly talk about this like an advertisement? Even if he stood straight up, he was clearly shorter than me. Hagana was shorter than me, and he was clearly still a bit shorter than her. What a very small boy. Well, I thought as I pulled back. If you're looking for Hagana, she's inside. Ah, thanks. I guess the fast talk only replied to his spiel as the priest was looking around now, averting gazes and walking to the church. At this point, I couldn't figure out if he was a guy or a girl, and as he took off his raincoat inside the church, my confidence fell even further. A threadbare sweatshirt that had been obviously too large drooped over him. Below that were jeans that were pant legs totally rolled up, as well as a pair of worn-down sneakers. His blonde hair was puffed up and rough as he had never used a comb his whole life. However, when he folded up the raincoat and tried to jam it into the bag hanging by the crushed straps over his shoulders, I caught a peek of the chest area through the overly large neckline of his sweatshirt. My new hunch was that Chris was probably a girl. Aren't you supposed to be in school now? Okay, is that how you determine whatever? Yeah, it's part of the story. It's really descriptive on those parts. Whilst feeling a bit of guilt. Okay. He clearly felt guilt on that. Good for you. She still feeling guilty on those kind of things. I close the doors and ask. I'm right. School's in lunch recess, so I'm doing the afternoon deliveries. I see. I guess you guys have long lunch breaks. Which means Chris is an elementary school student and under 14. With a few exceptions, all the elementary schools on the moon had at least 2 hours of lunch recess. That's a very long lunch for 2 hours. What the heck? You're here to study while delivering the groceries. How did you know? If I left to her own devices, she'd probably just stand there looking lost. So I started making Chris walk forward with me behind her as we were driving chickens around the yard. I guess we can stop here in a while and let's summarize the 2-hour event, the 2-hour episode of reading the backlog. So far I think we didn't progress that much, but I guess it's much better than 1 hour. So Hagana clearly, with that deep conversation with Lisa, they now clearly know their circumstances of that debt that they had to clear because of a book. And it's clearly they're very kind people. At this point, Haru can clearly trust Hagana and Lisa because of their bravery and camaraderie, I guess. That they shouldn't, like sell themselves off or sell those books and just pay those debts with their sweat. And so far, here's a new challenger, Chris, who's probably a girl, delivering goods to Hagana, his teacher. We also discovered that Hagana is good at math, which probably later in the story they'll probably team up. Hagana and Haru will probably team up to make the best combination in dealing with stocks. And also Hagana's her plans in entering university. Yeah, just like real life, very good. There's a lot of things going on with that. So far, the story is unfolding. Also, there's that invitation to Haru to a trading contest, was it? Yeah, so much revelation in the plot in this part. Anyway, that was a fun read. And if you've been watching for this whole hour, thank you for watching. If you've been watching now this recorded stream, thank you for watching also. And please make sure to like if you like this stream, subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and see you next time in another episode of Clearing the Backlog. Let's save here. Yes, and thank you, and wait, where's that? Okay, thank you and have a good night. Well, in my place so far, and have a great day if you're in the western part of the world. Goodbye and good night.